All right, so here we go. We're going to start our conversation right now about what's in sweat. And I want you to know it's mostly water, right? And the mineral composition of sweat can vary widely from athlete to athlete, meaning that there's ranges of sodium, potassium, and magnesium that we find. But it's very important to know that athletes lose way more sodium than potassium in their sweat. So if you look here, we're looking at milligrams per liter of sweat, and an athlete can lose anywhere from 460 maybe to 1840 milligrams in an hour. If you look here at potassium, it's only 160 to 390 milligrams in an hour. So very important to know. Other minerals that are important are magnesium and calcium. All right, so the big question, what's better to drink, water or a sports drink? This or that, which is it, right? So, no easy answer. The answer is it depends on what you are doing and how long, okay? So, water is fine for exercise less than an hour. Sports drinks are better if you train really hard for 1 hour or longer. All right, so that is the general recommendation. So if you're just going into the gym and you're doing a light workout, water is fine. Okay, if you're gonna be out and doing hard exercise for an hour or longer, you might find some benefits with the use of a sports drink. I also want you to know sports drinks are beneficial under other circumstances as well. So if you missed eating, okay, missed pre-exercise meal, at least the sports drink will give you a little bit of carbohydrate and electrolytes that will help you during your workout. If you train twice a day, so you do AM and PM, morning and afternoon workouts, 2-a-days, they will definitely be beneficial for you. If you train in the heat, if you compete in tournaments, or back-to-back competitions, and it's great for recovery hydration. Okay, so there are a lot of pros to it. So, people look at sports drinks and they go, well, gosh, there's sugar in them. Yes, there is. There is a small amount of sugar in a sports drink. So I do want to make this very clear that people who don't exercise and are sitting around all day, they do not need to be drinking sports drinks. They do not need the excess sugar or the extra sodium that's in a sports drink in their diet. Sports drinks are meant for people who are exercising, all right? And people who do long duration exercise, or people who are out in the heat for hours at a time, or maybe people who work jobs like lawn, service, and construction, right? So there is a little bit of sugar that's put into a sports drink. And so it's there because there's benefits to it, all right? During prolonged exercise, right? Remember, you're burning a lot of calories. So we learned in the chapter on carbohydrates that yes, taking in a little bit of carbs during long training session or a long race or ride or whatever actually can help prevent you from getting low blood sugar. So that's a benefit. It can also provide some fuel to your working muscles, right? So yeah, that's why there's sugar in it, all right? But you don't want a sports drink or a beverage that has a really high concentration of sugar. The amount of sugar in most sports drinks is only about 6 to 8%. And so if you're looking at like a 16-ounce bottle, which is a common size bottle, that translates on the nutrition facts to be about 28 to 38 grams of carbohydrate, right? So some examples are Gatorade and Powerade. They're the most common ones. There's also Body Armor that's out there that falls within that sugar category as well for the percentage of sugar. So what about the sodium in the sports drink? So again, if you're someone that's not exercising, you don't need the extra sodium in your diet. But athletes lose sodium in their sweat if they exercise daily and for long periods of time. It's a good idea. So sports drinks can help to replace some of the sodium lost through sweat. And so again, when we're thinking about sodium versus potassium, you lose way more sodium in your sweat than you do potassium. Where sodium goes, water follows. So drinking a sports drink with the little bit of sodium that's in it can help you retain fluid after exercise, which is good. Because remember, we were talking about sweat losses when we first started this chapter. Having a little bit of sodium in the sports drink actually has been shown through research to help speed up the absorption of the fluid and the sugar into the body. get into your working muscles and into your bloodstream much faster. So good benefit. All right. So I do want you to know also that it has that salty taste will make athletes typically drink more of it, which is important because left to their own devices, most athletes don't drink to match how much fluid they lost during their activity. So it's a thing that they'll start drinking more. In terms of different sports drinks out there, Gatorade and Powerade are really similar in their formulas in terms of how much sugar and sodium is in their product. All right, so they're very close. Body Armor, okay, is similar with the sugar content to Gatorade and Powerade, but the big difference with the Body Armor is that it's high in potassium and low in sodium. So it has a different balance of electrolytes in it. Okay, so let's talk about a product called the Right Stuff. Right, so this is used by many Division I colleges and professional teams to successfully prevent dehydration and the symptoms of dehydration. It's particularly used with success in athletes who are heavy sweaters, all right, with large sodium losses who are prone to exercise-associated muscle cramps. So the Right Stuff actually was developed for NASA astronauts, all right. It does have some research behind it that shows it's very effective for fighting against the symptoms of dehydration due to its special balance of water and electrolytes. Now, it differs from Gatorade, Powerade, and Body Armor in that there's no carbohydrate in it at all, and it's got a much higher sodium content. It's actually hard to get our athletes to drink it. The only way we ever had success with getting them to drink it because it's so salty is to mix it in with Gatorade or Powerade. But there are a lot of athletes that do use it with great success. The makers of the Right Stuff say that due to the fact that it's carbohydrate free and has a higher sodium content, the research shows that it's actually absorbed more quickly. And that if the athlete wants carbohydrates during their long duration activity, they can actually decide what to add and when, by using other carbohydrate sources. All right, and then lastly, there are athletes out there that don't like Gatorade, Powerade, Body Armor, the Right Stuff. They don't like those types of drinks, or they don't tolerate them. They get stomach ache, gastrointestinal distress. And so there are athletes out there that will opt to have water and use electrolyte tablets. And then they'll get their carbohydrates from foods they carry with them, real food like we talked about, or the bars, the gels, the blocks that we covered in the chapter on carbs. So that's another option. All right, I think that ends everything for this section. When we come back, we're going to talk about how much fluid to drink and a little bit about how you can tell whether or not you're hydrated.